right now. So right now I am 56 hours into my 72-hour fast. And this is where things really get interesting. By now, my body is deep into fat burning. Ketones are fueling my brain. Autophagy is in full gear. But this is also the stage where, the mental games begin. And they become just as important as the physical. This is where we've been. This is where we've been before. We've been doing this for a while. And this week, we've been in our series, Play Your Own Game. And we've kind of been talking about the cost of comparison, escaping the stress of somebody else's timeline. And that's exactly what we're going to explore tonight. Because let's be honest, fasting isn't just about what's happening in our cells. It's about what's happening in our mind. And comparison may be the thing that's costing you more than you actually realize. Hey, if you're new to me, I'm Dr. Dwain Woode. That's Wood with an E. The E stands for endocrinology. Here I educate, I empower, and I encourage you to take charge of your health and your life, avoid complications, go to the next level. We're creating the life we've always wanted, and we are living, that's right, limitless lives. Hey, if you're new to me, go ahead and put new in the comments because I'd love to welcome you with a hand clap and some music. And let you know that I'm happy that you're here. If you have questions, go ahead and put those in the chat because I want to make sure that we get to those as we move through our episode tonight. We've got a lot of good things that we're going to be talking about. I've got my monitors. Got my meters that we're going to take a look right here. You can go ahead and start putting, if you want to give a guess what you think my ketones are going to be. Right down below me, I've got my Dexcom Clarity Report, so we can take a look to see what's been going on over the course of the last several days as we've moved into this fast. If you are fasting with us as we've gone through this week, I want you to go ahead and put yes in the comments. Don't tell me how long you've been fasting. Don't tell me which days you're fasting. Just put a yes in the comments if you've been fasting with us as we've moved through this week, because this has been an amazing week for me. We'll spend some more time talking about that. If you are also if you're new to us or you've heard me over the course of the last several weeks, we've been talking about some very important changes that have happened on the channel and on our website. So I want to make sure that we go through those really quickly and let you know what the changes are, why we're doing that, and what this means for you. So if you've been going to if you go to lots of channels and you'll see how they're laid out, there are lots of videos that will show up on the main page. And what I've done is we've kind of simplified that for you. And so when you go to our YouTube channel now, what you'll notice is that there are basically two playlists. The first one says start here. And that is where, if you're coming to the channel, if you're new to our community, or even if you've been here and you want to review the pathway that we're on, or those things that are pivotal in our discussion, the things that we teach, that's where you would go. Go ahead and go and start there. When I talk to people now and they say, hey, tell me what you do, I give them my brief description and I say, go to the channel, go to the start here playlist and start watching through those videos. Okay, so this is a curated list of the videos that we've done that are pivotal in the pathway and in the journey that we're on, and these help to set you up for the best possibility of success. If you go into the description of the playlist, you will see that there is a PDF that you can download, a free PDF that walks you through the different videos that are here. And they're broken into 4 different components, right? Start with the vision, understanding what's really going on, mastering the tools that actually work, and then putting it all together. And then at the end of that PDF, there is a commitment statement, a limitless living commitment statement that you get to sign and date. And I recommend that you print it out, put it in a frame, put it on your wall so that you can be looking at that every time. One of the things that I always point out is, and this is not the limitless living commitment statement, my commitment statement, limitless living, is right here. But beyond it, right back here, that is a commitment statement that I signed now going on 3, almost 4 years ago, that talks about my commitment to what I was venturing into, which is actually what you see me doing right now. And so every time so the door to my studio is over here. And every time I walk into the studio, I see that right there on the wall. And it reminds me, right, is a visual reminder of the decision that I've made. And so the commitment statement that you're going to make when you get to the end of that PDF, as you're walking through that journey, it is a visual reminder to you every time you see it, wherever you put it, right, on the wall, on the mirror, on your desk. It's a visual reminder of the commitment that you're making for your health. So first thing you want to do is go ahead and get over there to the start here and watch through that playlist. The next thing you will see, the next playlist, is this week's videos. And this is the list of all the videos that we've done, that we've been doing this week. So if you want to know what the conversations are this week, what are the videos this week, what did he eat before he started this fast this week, what is he going to eat as his first meal after 72 hours this week, all of those are here in this list. Also, you will see my workouts that I've been doing over the course of our 100-day strength strategy and mindset. Those are there. Our flagship show that we do Monday night, Dwain Woode MD Live, that is in there, right? And then, of course, the pop-ups, where you get to see the things that I'm eating as my first meal. And then, of course, tomorrow you'll see the what I eat for my first meal after the fast. What I meant to say, you get to see what I eat for my last meal as I get into the fast. And then, of course, as I break the fast, you get to see what that is as well. All right, so that is on the that is on the YouTube channel. On the website, we've done something similar to that. When you get there, you will see, of course, our Dwain Woode MD Live Limitless Living, right? Powered by the new you, and you know the phrase there is reclaim your rhythm, redefine your life. Welcome to Limitless Living, transforming health, mindset, and identity, one intentional step at a time. And you see the guy, he's standing there on the mountain, and I love that visual because he's realizing the expanse of what's available to him. And you, as you come into Limitless Living, you get to understand that there's a vast unlimited potential that's out there, and all we've got to do is take one step at a time, one mindset change, one transforming health thought, one intentional step at a time. So I love that visual. But if you scroll down, there's a welcome video to the website for me. And then here, this is what I was telling you about. There's a button that says start watching videos, and that goes back to the playlist that I just told you about. And then, of course, if you click here, download your free guide, that will take you to the PDF I just described and walk you through that. If you are in the process, if you are in the metabolic process, if you are tired, if you've been on that wheel, right, and you're ready to get off the wheel, down below that, of course, is our accelerator program that you get to join. Remember, we educate, we empower, and we encourage, and you can press that button there to find out more about that. Awesome, awesome. All right, so let's go ahead and let's take a look at blood sugars, and we'll start by taking a look at, this is my Dexcom app. And this is a G7, and this is my blood sugar right there. That's what my blood sugar is right now. And if you scroll down a little bit, you'll see what my blood sugar has been running over the last 24 hours. And I can actually put my finger over there, and you get to see what that is. So it's been in the 70s and 80s, 70s, 80s, 70s, 80s, 70s, 80s. And so for most of today, we've been in the 70s, 80s, and then right, what time was that? Right about 3 or 4 o'clock, we dipped below 70 for the first time, right there at 68. And then we came back up above 70, and then kind of been riding right at the border of 70, 60s and 70s to where we are right now at 66, right? And then let's go over here and let me make one change. So here is my Dexcom. So that was my Dexcom, and here is my Freestyle Libre. Let me do something here really quickly. Let's see, Freestyle Libre coming up. Freestyle Libre, where are you? I got all these apps that are open here. Okay, here it is. Okay, so here's my Freestyle Libre. And you'll see right there that my blood sugar right now, according to Freestyle Libre, is 55. And similarly down here, you'll see that my blood sugars have been, for the most part, according to Libre, it's been below 70. Now, one of the things that someone asked me recently, and I say recently, like today, because we did the show last night where I showed my labs and you saw what my A1C was. And so they asked me, how did my A1C compare to the CGMs that I would use? And the A1C that I had was 5.6. If you didn't watch that show, go back and watch that. So that A1C was much closer aligned to the Freestyle Libre than it was to the Dexcom. So you know the Dexcom tends to ride a little higher, and you've seen that here in this space as we've looked at these numbers together. Okay, so that's what we are on the monitors. Let's go ahead and let's take a look at what my blood sugars are on my biofinger stick. So here's my Keto Mojo, and here is my Contour. And let's go ahead and let's grab this is my ketone strip, and here is my blood sugar strip. I need a lancet. Put that right here, and we'll put this back. And then over here, I need a strip for the Contour. So let's grab that out. Get that in here. And then let's get to opening these guys up. So this one is the brown one, and so this is going to give me ketone. This is going to give me blood sugars. There we go. This is blood sugar, and then I'm also going to go ahead and open up the ketone one, because as you know, I usually have trouble opening that one up. I'm not sure why that's different. But tonight I actually had trouble opening the test strip as well, the regular test strip. All right, so get that out. So I'm going to just drop that right there, and here is my lancet, and we're just going to grab this and grab a finger, and ow. Ooh. Let's see. Okay, and there's my drop. And get that started. So I think I saw someone put a guess in there already. So 56 is what the 56 for the Keto Mojo, 59 for the Contour, and of course right there is the Freestyle Libre. And let's go back to see what the Dexcom. The Dexcom right here is. Let's get rid of this guy. Dexcom right here is a 67. Okay, now let me get this out quickly before the blood dries, and let's get the ketone strip in there. And I think I saw someone drop a comment or drop a guess in there. So let's get this started and let's see where we are. Last night we were 1.1, if I recall correctly, and we'll take a look at that in just a minute. Also. So 3, 2, 1, what do you think it is going to be? And we were 1.9. Look at that, 1.9. So I think Cornelia said a 2.1, so not far off. And then now I'm going to go ahead and pull up my Keto Mojo app. And we're going to try to get that syncing. So let's grab, I'm going to hit that button. Let's give it a second to... All right, syncing in progress is what it says. And so while that's doing, oh, there we are. Well, that went much more quickly tonight. So we're looking at these three numbers right here. So 1.6 is my GKI, and then down below you'll see in the red area is 56. That's my glucose, and then in the blue that's my ketones, 1.6. So looking at these three numbers, I want my GKI, the GKI to be, and that's the glucoketo index. I want the GKI to be as low as possible. I want blood sugars to be low, and I want ketones to be high. So when we talk about ketones that are less than 0.5 are considered normal. 0.5 to 1.5 is considered nutritional ketosis, and then above 1.5 considered a therapeutic ketosis. So right now I'm 1.6, so I'm in the therapeutic ketosis range, and I know that I'm burning fat because in order for me to have ketones and my blood sugar to be low, then my body has to be getting those from somewhere, and it's getting them from fat. And so I get excited when I see that. So anyone who's doing a ketogenic diet, if you're doing a fasting mimicking diet, if you're doing fasting itself, and you want to be in ketosis where we're doing fat burning, that's where you would be. Now the GKI is a calculated number. It is a number that that gives us a ratio between the glucose and the ketones. Now, if you're looking at that number, you're like, wait a minute, Dr. Woode, if I divide 56 by 1.9, that doesn't give me a 1.6, and it's actually a calculated number. So let me go ahead. I'm going to pull up my calculator really quickly, and let's go ahead and do that together. If you don't have a meter that does the calculation for you, you can actually go to a website, and they have calculators. So let's look at this together. So my blood sugar was 50. Well, what was it? 56. Okay. My blood sugar was 56, and to convert it to international units, we divide by 18. That gives me 3.1, and then I divide that by what my ketones were, which is 1.9. Now and that gives me the 1.6, which gets us back to this number right here. Now, you don't have to necessarily do this. When you're looking at your ketones, you're looking at your blood sugar, you want the blood sugar to be low, and you want the ketones to be 0.5 or higher. And if you're doing that, then that will set you up and get you in the right range. The GKI is just another number that we talk about. So when we're talking to other people, or even for myself, I like to track it. I'm a numbers guy. I like data. I like all these fancy things, as you see when we come on. So I like the numbers, and it helps me. Now, what is important about that? Because I want to look at one other graph. And we'll get to what my numbers have been in just a minute. But one of the other graphs that we want to look at is this one. Right? And so the reason that we're doing this is because we're looking for metabolic benefits. So let me pause there for a second. So why are we doing what we're doing? We're looking for improvement in our metabolism. We'll talk more about that. But one of the things that people like to see, like to track, is, well, what's going on with my weight? And so as you've been walking along this path with me, let's go back and let's look at this weight here. So here's a weight of 260 pounds. Now, I don't have my highest weight here, which was 287 pounds. So 287 pounds. And as we've been walking along this pathway, as we've been on this journey together, you've kind of watched as those numbers have gone down and down and down, and some fluctuations in there, and down and down and down to where we are right now, right? So 183. So 287, 183, so a little over 100 pounds as we've walked this path together. So why are we doing what we're doing? Because we are interested in metabolic improvement. People who are interested in getting their weight down, interested in getting their blood sugar down, which translates into a lower A1C, interested in improving their fatty liver, interested in improving their metabolic disease, right? Metabolic syndrome and all of those. Now, all of that is important. All of that is important. Now, let's make a correlation to that. Because those numbers, this number that you're looking at, it is a surrogate, it is a guidepost, it is a mile marker. What is our ultimate goal? Our ultimate goal is keeping you alive as long as possible and making you as healthy as possible. Let me pause, right? Because I want you to get that. As we've been talking about this week, what we want to do is we want to personalize these numbers. Because sometimes we go to the doctor and they tell us a number, or like last night we reviewed my labs that I did when we went to my doctor. Sometimes you're looking at the numbers and you don't know what those numbers mean. And if you are not personalizing the number, it's just a number. It's something you're shooting for, and you don't understand why you need to keep that number where it needs to be. What are we doing? We want you around to be able to romp and play and wrestle with the grandkids. We want you around so that when you and your wife and your husband and your family, now that you've put all this time into your job and you've given the career so much time and you're ready to travel, that you could travel without your hips hurting, and you can travel, you can be free to do the things you want to do. We want you around so that when your son or your daughter graduates from college, that you're there for them, that you're walking your daughter down the aisle and giving her away as she's getting married. I had a lady come to see me. She was 84 years old, and she said, "Hey, I'm going to California." I said, "What are you going to be doing?" She said, "My granddaughter is having her third child, and they asked me to come out to help take care." She's 84, and she looked just as she was 30 years old. So why are we doing the things we're doing? It's not just about the number. It's about getting you back into your life to do the things that you have always wanted to do. That's why you hear me say we're going to the next level. We're creating the life we've always wanted. Because much of that has been stolen by this metabolic disease that we see. All right, so that's where we are, and so those are the reasons we're doing those things. Okay, now let's hop over and let's take a look at my Dexcom Clarity Report. And so here I am 14-day average 118. We usually tell people we want their average blood sugar to be between 100 and 120. And so we're in target 97% of the time. My GMI, or glucose management indicator, so this is a surrogate for my A1C. So my A1C should approximate that. 6.1 is what it is. And as you saw from my labs last night, my A1C was actually 5.7. Okay? So once again, when you're looking at the report, this is a calculated number, and can be slightly different from when you actually get blood work done. If I look at my 90-day average, and once again, this is my Dexcom Clarity, my 90-day average is also 116 with a GMI of 6.1, and I'm in target 97% of the time. If I go back and look at my daily numbers, let's get rid of this thing. Right? What I want to do is I want to start back where we started the fast. And if you've not done so yet, you want to go back and look and see what was the last meal I had when I started the fast. And so we started the fast right about here with a blood sugar of 98. Actually, it was 95, I think, right there. Yeah, 95 as we started the fast. And you saw what I ate. And then now let's track the blood sugar from the time I ate to where it is now. And so I ate right there, finished eating. Go back and watch that show so you can see what I ate and what you would expect the blood sugar to be. And now let's go through, and we're 90s, 100s, up to 100, 107, 105, 109. The highest that I saw was probably a 140, or there's 120, right? So we started from 95 up to 120. Going into the next morning, so that was midnight. Next morning, we're now 100s, low 100s and 90s, 80s. And here's what I call the toothpaste effect, right in here, right? Like you know. And now, it's not as pronounced as it usually is because I changed toothpaste. You guys remember, was it last week or 2 weeks ago? I changed toothpaste, and notice the change, right? So we don't get as big a spike in the blood sugar as a result of that toothpaste. And so we stayed in low 90s, low 100s, and went through. That was and right in here, this was 24 hours when we did our check-in yesterday, and then at 33 hours last night as we did our check-in, we were in the 70s, right, and into midnight, and then coming into this morning. Now I want you to look at these numbers, right? So 80s, and it's going lower. Right here, once again, is that toothpaste effect. And so we were in the 70s, and after toothpaste, we bopped up into the 80s, went as high as 88. Actually, no, 90, what was it? 90, where is it? 90 through 92. Okay? So toothpaste can have a pretty profound effect. And then down into the 80s, into the 70s, to where we are right now as we are going down. Now, let's talk a little bit about this. And for this one, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to pull back up my Libre. Right? And so you see that number right there. And when I went to my doctor, right? So we went to a doctor, 2-3 weeks ago, And my number, I was fasting because I saw him on Friday. I was fasting, and my number was 64, 65, something like that. And his comment to me was like, "Man, you're low. We need to treat that." Or how do you feel? We were having that conversation. And then he looked at my labs, and my insulin or my C-peptide was 0.8, which is actually low. And so he's like, wait a minute, why is your C-peptide 0.8? Why is it low? And the reason it was low was because my blood sugar was low. So when your blood sugar is low, your body does not have to produce a massive amount of insulin. And that is one of the C-peptide is one of the surrogates for that. This is the idea. This is what we want. When we're fasting, we want that insulin to go as low as possible, because when the insulin goes as low as possible, then our insulin resistance is actually decreasing, because the body now has to manage sugar some other way. And so fasting, remember, with the 3 pillars, we decrease insulin, suppress appetite, and reduce sugar. When we're doing this and the blood sugar goes down, I'm not worried about that because, let's go back to this other graph. I'm not worried about the 56 because what am I running on right now? I'm not running on sugar. I'm actually running on ketones. It's kind of like that hybrid car. When the gas goes out, when the gas gets used up, you don't worry, because what happens? It switches over to burning from the battery. All right, so that's the whole idea there. All right, let's go ahead now and let's say hello to some of our community members, because I see you guys out there. Let's do this, and we got Cornelia. Cornelia's it's not the one. Let's do this one. All right, so Cornelia is out there. Cornelia is saying hello. There we are. And Cornelia, they gave a guess. She said 2.1 was what she thinks my ketones would be. And so Cornelia, as you saw, it was 1.9, so not far off. Let's get that. So there you go, 2.1. And then Boy, hey, how are you doing, Boy? Now I got a message from you. So Boy was watching one of our shows. We're doing a project in Atlanta with the Berean Church, where they're playing our series, the Limitless Living Health series. They're playing that in church as part of their health ministries. And what you saw, Boy, on the website, on the YouTube channel, was actually one of those episodes that was in transit to them. And so in transit, it became visible to you, and that's what you saw. And you're like, well, wait a minute. This is episode 5. Where are the other episodes? And so we are actually in the process of doing 52 episodes, so 1 episode a week for them. And you caught episode 5. We're actually now up to, is it 9 or 10 in their space? So anyway, so that's what you saw, and I did get that message from you. Let's see. Cornelia says, Gian said hello, everyone. Her dad had surgery last week, and she's helping to okay. Well, thank you for pointing that out for us. We had missed her in the group. She says she misses LLG. Awesome. We're glad that her dad is she's taking care of her dad. Boy says she is a good daughter. We miss you, Gian. Yes, we do. And hey, everybody, we saw. Yes, we've got a very important visitor who's hanging out with us tonight. And actually, we did a book review. Let me give a hand clap. Dr. Una, thank you for coming through and hanging out with us. She said, nice, strong work. Thank you for that. If you guys go back and look at, I think it was last year that we did a review of a book that she wrote. Very important book, by the way. So thank you for coming through and hanging out with us. Boy says, I started at 260 pounds and I am 235. What? Love that. Congratulations, Boy. And Jennifer says, share our love to Gian and her family. Definitely. Congratulations, Boy. Cornelia says, yes, she is, Boy. I will, Jennifer. Thank you all. Awesome numbers, doctor. Thank you. And Boy says, oh, I remember you mentioned yesterday that your blood sugar rose during COVID. What would cause that to happen? One of the things, a very good question, by the way. So one of the things that we're still trying to understand is what are all the implications of the COVID virus on the body? People are talking about the long COVID syndrome. There are clinics now that are devoted to evaluating people who have had COVID because they're showing up with fatigue. They're showing up with other metabolic diseases or metabolic syndrome type diseases. One of the places that we are still seeing effects is with blood sugar. And we think it's the inflammatory process that happens in the body. Remember, anytime the body is stressed, anytime there's inflammation, the potential is that the blood sugars can go up because your body is in a hormonal change. Your cortisol levels are high. And remember, cortisol is responsible for getting sugar, right? Going to find energy in the body. Energy is defined as sugar. And so sugars go up. And you'll recall, so when that was last year, December, right around Christmas time, I had COVID. And so from December, all of January, and actually into part of February, almost the end of February, my blood sugars were about 40 to 50 points higher than they were before. And so if you remember my labs from last night when we saw it, so A1C down at 6.3, 6.4, popped up to 7.5 during that time, and then back down when we looked at it again, 6.4 and then 5.6. So we believe that that's the inflammatory process that's going on. Once again, we also see people who have things like thyroid disease, who have abnormalities in their thyroid functions during this time. Still something that we are, when I say we as a community, as the medical community, are looking into. Cornelia saying hi to Dr. Una. Hey, yes, thank you, Cornelia, for sharing the community with Dr. Una. Congratulations, Bowie. Dolly, hey Dolly, what's up? Thank you for coming through. We saw you last night. Thank you for hanging out with us. And then Jennifer says, I was pre-diabetic for 25 years. Bad cause of COVID, then moved into diabetes category. So we're seeing a lot of diabetes, thyroid issues that show up as a result of COVID. And so it's a process. There are clinics now that are evaluating those people. Like right here near us, and we're in North Alabama. So at Vanderbilt, there's a clinic there that's actually doing this evaluation also. All right, let's see. So Cornelia, your message is right in the middle of my screen. Let me take that off. All right, so let's go ahead and let's hop into our discussion for tonight. This is going to be a very interesting one as we come on the heels of our main show that we did on Monday, talking about comparison. Let's go ahead and let's look at that right now. All right, so Play Your Own Game is the series that we're in. And as we talk about Play Your Own Game, the idea there is that there are some definitive markers or metrics that we're shooting for. A1C numbers, weight levels, BMI. We want to make sure that blood pressure, cholesterol, all those things are in a certain range. How we've been doing it, though, has been disconnected from the people that we're talking to. What does that mean? That means that when I say to you, hey, I want your A1C to be 6.5 or better, and that's pretty standard. Depending on which organization you look at, is 6.5 is what one says, the other one says 7, below 7. So 6.5 is what I tell my patients to shoot for. When we look at that number, everyone is shooting for 6.5, generally speaking. How we get to the 6.5, we have been very prescriptive in telling people how to do it. And there is a method to get there, but within that method, you can adjust how you do it. What does that mean? As we've been walking through the Limitless Living Health Action Plan, we've outlined the 7 pillars, right? Walking, fasting, strength training, balanced bites, rest and recovery, mental mastery, and then of course strategy and planning. That's the pathway. Now, fasting comes in lots of different flavors. I do a 72-hour fast per week. Other people may do other types of fasts that get them similar benefits. We're all heading in the same direction to the same metric, but we don't get there the same way. And so comparison isn't just a mindset trap when we're comparing ourselves to other people. It's a metabolic liability. Let me explain. So at 56 hours into my fast, my body and your body, those of you who are fasting with us, your body is in a delicate balance. Insulin is low, growth hormone is rising, cortisol is shifting, and your system is fine-tuned for healing. As we've talked about, resetting our body, that's what fasting does. It gets us primed for the things that we're going to do when we stop fasting and the hormonal changes that are going on during the fast. But when you start comparing your journey to somebody else's, their numbers, their ketones, their timeline, you trigger stress. And stress drives cortisol higher, right? So I mean, and that is a simple example. What does cortisol do? Remember, cortisol and epinephrine are two of those stress hormones. So epinephrine gets the body ready for danger. So you see a tiger and epinephrine says, hey, we need to run. Well, your body can't run if it doesn't have energy. And so cortisol now goes out and it brings the energy. The epinephrine gets the body primed. Those muscles are ready to go. And then cortisol comes and it gets the energy and dumps it in and gives the body the ability to move. And as long as we stay in that stressed phase, the cortisol is always bringing more energy. So it's always bringing more what? Sugar. So cortisol causes blood sugars to go up. It blunts ketone production. Because when when blood sugar goes up, cortisol, insulin also goes up. And as we know, insulin prevents us from getting into fat burning. It slows fat breakdown. In other words, when we compare, we cause that stress process to happen, and we literally disrupt the very healing that fasting creates. Yep. So what's happening at 56 hours? What's happening to my body at 56 hours? Let's start right there. So 56 hours into fast, what's happening is that my glycogen stores are being used up. And we say that usually goes away at between 24 and 36 hours. That store gets used up. So my blood sugar is low, as you saw on my monitor. Blood sugar is 56. And that means that my glucose is low, my insulin level is also low, and my body has had to go and use sugar from my liver. Well, as long as my body is able to use sugar from my liver, there are no ketones. Because the stuff in my liver, the glycogen, that's still sugar. So in order for me to get ketones and get ketones that are persistent, I had to have used up the sugar in my blood sugar right now 56. I had to have used up the sugar in my liver, glycogen, and then now go to the fat stores, and that's where the ketones come from. Right? So glycogen, that's the stored liver. That's the stored stuff in my liver. So my glycogen stores are pretty much gone. Fat is being broken down as indicated by ketones. Insulin levels have to be low because my blood sugars are low. And if that's the case, it can't disrupt my hunger hormone, and it can't disrupt my cortisol, and it can't prevent me from going into fat burning. Autophagy is kicked in. Remember, autophagy is the body's process of recycling. It's literally cleaning house. It's breaking down old proteins. It's recycling damaged cell parts. And in my brain, ketones are giving clarity, focus, and even sometimes euphoria. You guys heard me talking, what was it, 2 weeks ago? Right, I was talking and somebody says, hey, you're having it sounds like you're having pressured speech. Right, the euphoria that comes. So the beta hydroxybutyrate is fueling the brain. The BDNF, brain-derived natriuretic factor, is like miracle grow for the brain. So during fasting, we're getting all these connections, all these interplays, all these. And I was talking to one of our community members. I think was it Cornelia, and we were talking about the connections that we're making. It's like a thought comes and that thought crashes into another thought. And because it is primed in this space where the ketones are there and the BDNF is there, when it hits into that other thought, the thought explodes. And now we've got a million thoughts that we can now go through the process of doing. There's this show that I used to watch. I don't know, is it still on? It's called, oh, wow. As soon as I said that. Oh, wow. Okay, I'll remember it. But anyway, it was a very popular show. And so they would get these numbers and they would go save people based on the numbers. Oh, why am I missing that? If you know what show I'm talking about. But the computer would go through these infinite calculations to try to figure out the best possibility for you to do something. And that's what I sometimes envision, that there's this thought that comes, and in this time the thought just goes down these millions of different possibilities. So you're making connections and making discoveries and having thoughts that don't usually come when you're not fasting. But here's the key. No one ever says that I feel the same as someone else. And not everybody feels the same. Some people at 56 hours say, wow, I feel like I could run a marathon. Others say, man, I feel drained. I feel like I'm dragging. I'm cold. Feel like I'm gotten brain fog. We'll talk more about those as we do our review of fasting. And that's right. That's right. There's difference. It's how our thought occurs. That's how our thought occurs and how our body behaves. And when we compare ourselves to other people, if we try to do exactly what they do, we will have those times where we feel like we're in a fog. Oh, we feel like we're drained. We feel like, oh, this isn't working, because we're playing somebody else's game. Because we're trying to fast for 72 hours when we haven't mastered 24 hours. We're trying to run 10 miles a day when we haven't even walked in the last 2 years. So the goal is the same. The metrics are the same. I shouldn't even say the goal, because our goal is different. My goal might be to retire and go on vacation. Your goal is I got to be around for my grandson. But the overall goal is, how do we keep you alive as long as possible and keep you as healthy as possible? How we get there is different. How we get there is the difference. So what is the science behind this? Why is comparison, we just talked a little bit about it. Let's take it a little deeper. Psychologists talk about something called social comparison theory. It goes all the way back to, some other people back in the 50s. The idea is simple. As human beings, we evaluate ourselves not just by looking inward, not just by looking at what's going on here, but by comparing ourselves to other people. I remember when I first came out of fellowship and I opened up my practice, these ideas that we're talking about, some of them were in their infancy, because I had been struggling with weight for years. I had been struggling with blood sugar for years. And this is the guy who's getting ready to come out to talk to people about metabolism and talk to people about blood sugars. And so I remember I was in the process of developing some of these thoughts and some of these ideas. And someone commented that, man, he's talking about stuff I've never heard about. Is he talking about diabetes? He doesn't know what he's talking about. And I took that thing and I looked around me, and all of the other people in my field where I am were talking in a similar way. And because I did not want to be different, what did I do? I took my stuff, I put it on the shelf, and I became like everybody else. Because we don't want to be different. We compare ourselves. We like that herd mentality. Now, a lot of people will say now, right? So now it's popular to, I'm running my own story. I'm going down my own pathway. But yeah, that's to a certain extent. We're built for community. And anytime there is a difference between us and the community, we try to assimilate ourselves. And so what did that do for me? That delayed my healing for a long time because I was no longer thinking in that way. That's a simple example of how comparison can rob us of the richness and the value and the benefit that we're supposed to get. Now, in the fasting space, this can get really dangerous, right? Because the temptation is constant. You scroll online, or even you're in this community, and you see my ketones, and you see my blood sugar. Or you hear Bowie talk about her weight loss. And you're like, well, man, their blood sugars, their glucose drops faster than mine. Their ketones are higher than mine. They've lost 12 pounds in the first fast. And I lost 2. And you hear me say, as we talk about fasting, in the fasting, people typically should lose between a half a pound to 1.2 pounds per day. Almost sometimes up to 2 pounds. That's what we see, what we say. But if you don't lose that, then you're like, man, what's wrong with me? And what happens when we start comparing? We get stress, we get anxiety, we get cortisol, and one of two things happen. We overreach or we freeze. Overreach looks like, man, if they're going to do 72 hours, I'm going to do 72 hours, even if I'm not ready. If they're going to walk 15,000 steps, I'm going to walk 15,000 steps. When you've not gotten out of the couch, if they're going to like throw everything out of their house, all the carbs at their house, I'm going to do the same thing. Now, those are admirable, but it's not your game. And so when that happens, we burn out. We get anxiety, we get stress, and we lose you for a long time. Why? Because your brain says, I'm not ever doing that again. There are people who I see in my practice, and they have had good blood sugars before. They've had A1Cs down in the 5.6s. They've lost 50 or 60 pounds, and they've put it back on. Blood sugars are now high, and metabolically, they're back and even sometimes worse than where they were. And so we're having a conversation, and I say to them, hey, here are some things that we can try, some things we can do. And they say to me, I have done some things before that I know work, but I'm never doing that again because I can't sustain that. And that's the key word, sustaining. Whatever you're doing, whatever space you find yourself in, can you sustain what you're doing? And as we're walking through this path, as we're going down this journey, our goal is not quick fix. Our goal is, how can we do things that are sustainable? Right now, in vogue are all the GLP-1 receptor agonists. Those are the medications people are using for weight loss, or using for blood sugar, and side effect of it is weight loss. And when I talk to patients in the office, whenever I am getting ready to start one of those medications, because people will come to me and they say, hey, my blood sugars are great, my A1C is great, but my weight is up. Right? So they're diabetic. And we put them on GLP-1 receptor agonist. It is a blood sugar medication. We get the side effect of weight loss, right? So we're not treating weight with it unless you're doing, one of the ones that are indicated. So we're putting them on the medication. And the conversation I have with them is, why are you wanting to go on this? They say, oh, I want to lose weight because my cousin, my brother, my sister, they're taking this and they lost weight. And my conversation, my question is, do you know how the medication works? And they say, I don't know, it's going to make me lose weight. Do you know how the medications work? I'm asking you now. They make you lose weight, one, because they slow your GI tract so you feel fuller longer, and it helps to suppress the appetite. Slows the GI tract, suppresses appetite. That's how it works. Slows the GI tract, suppresses appetite. It doesn't burn fat. It doesn't poof the fat away. It slows the GI tract and it suppresses the appetite. So if that's what it does, what was causing the appetite to be stimulated in the first place? Because if we don't understand that, if you have a side effect of the medication, or if for some reason the pharmacy or the insurance says I'm not paying for it, or there's a shortage like we had a couple of years ago, then people begin panicking. Why? Because they never learned what was driving it in the first place. So let's connect the dots. Cortisol is your stress hormone. When cortisol rises, blood sugars go up. When blood sugar goes up, insulin comes out. When insulin comes out, it blunts ketones. It makes fat breakdown harder. It can disrupt your sleep, your focus, even cause cravings. So do you see what's going on? And so you comparing yourself to somebody else it's like comparing apples to oranges, because their pathway is different. They may be sleeping better. Maybe they don't have as much stress as you. Maybe they have some other metabolic challenges that you're not worried, that's not in you. Maybe they have some hypothyroidism. Maybe they're going through menopause. Some other hormonal issue that's causing a problem. Maybe they're in chronic pain. Maybe they are comparing themselves to somebody else and they are running a marathon when they're not ready. But all of that literally steals your results. And I call it the metabolic sabotage through comparison. I coined that, by the way. I came up with that. It's like running a marathon that you've trained, right? Like you're running a marathon like you've trained. You're on your pace, but instead of focusing on your stride, right? You've trained for it. You keep looking at the person next to you, and you keep looking at them. And have you seen those races where somebody, they're running and they may be up front and somebody comes next to them and they're running and all of a sudden they look over at the person. And what happens when they look over at the person? They lose their stride and the person passes them and the person wins the race. Because we keep looking over there. And to keep up, what do you have to do now? Now you start, right? Instead of running your pace, taking your strides, right, gliding, doing what you trained for, you're carrying their weight, not yours. You're carrying their blood sugars, not yours. You're carrying their fasting routine, not yours. Play your own game. Play your own game. Now, when I first started fasting, I have to admit that I wasn't playing my own game. In fact, in much of my metabolic journey, I didn't play my own game. I played it like everybody else because I wanted the weight loss. And when you look at my graph, you'll see, okay, weight went down and came up and down and came up and down and came up and down and came up. And that happened for a long time. Even as I was doing my intermittent fasting. Why? Because I didn't understand fully why I was doing what I was doing, what it meant for my body, and how my game had to be played. I had someone recently come to me, and we were talking about ketones, like we look at, and their ketones were 0.5, 0.5, 0.6, 0.5, 0.6, 0.5, 0.6, 0.7, 0.5, 4.6, right? And their spouse, their wife, was not a patient of ours, by the way, and they had been following what he was doing. So the patient, he's my patient. And she's not my patient, and she's following what he's doing. And her ketones are higher than his. And so that caused distress. So he's like, well, something must be wrong. I said, well, what are the ketones? I said 0.5, 0.6, 0.5, 0.6, 0.5, 0.6, 0.5, 0.6. It's like, wait a minute. 0.5, 0.6, you're in ketosis. And he's like, yeah, but I wanted it higher. Comparison. But as I was going through my path, I remembered my journey is my own. So when I watched people who were talking about ketones and where their ketones were and what they were doing, and I was looking at mine, I was like, wait a minute, why is mine is not that high? And consistency over time. Consistency over time. Consistency over time gives the benefit, because I'm playing my game, and I'm playing for the long haul. I'm not looking for today or tomorrow. I'm looking, what am I going to be doing down the road? My journey is my own. My insulin background, my body composition, my history with diabetes, all of that makes my journey unique. And I've seen that with patients. When they understand their journey, that the metrics are there, how we get there can be different, then all of a sudden it makes sense. When we stop comparing and we start measuring our own victories, then our energy goes up, blood pressure goes down, we lose weight, all those things begin falling into place. So let's get practical for a minute. How do you play your own game when it comes to fasting? Let me give you 3 things. Ready? Here we go. How do we escape the comparison trap? Number 1, define our baseline. Know our numbers. We did a show just last night talking about labs. Know what your numbers are. Not just your glucose, not just your ketones, but know how your body works. What are your hunger cues? What are your energy cues? Do you work better in the morning or in the evening? If that's the case, don't try to do heavy thought stuff when you're at your lowest energy. What's your sleep quality like? Start from where you are. I've never fasted before. They say I should fast. Well, I don't go do a 72-hour fast. Let's start slow. Start low and go slow. Define your baseline. Where am I right now? That's why when I say the Limitless Living Health Action Plan, and when I talk about limitless living, I say we show up with our best self, our best health, and our best plan. That means that right where I am is what I bring. I'm not looking to get better first and then come. I show up just like I am. What's my baseline? Number 2, measure progress internally. So the number didn't change, but since I've been fasting, I feel calmer. The number didn't change. The weight didn't go down. But since I've been fasting, since I've been on the plan, what I feel is that I don't resort to food anymore to buffer. Since I've been on the plan, I'm different than I was last month. I'm different than I was last year. Am I moving forward? Yes, I am. That's the scoreboard that counts. We're heading to the same markers, the same metrics, but we get there differently. So measure your progress internally by what's going on. Celebrate non-scale victories. Weight loss is great. The numbers are nice, but sometimes the biggest win is sleeping through the night when you used to get up to pee because your blood sugars were so high. I still haven't seen a big change in my weight, but guess what? My blood sugars are better, so I'm not peeing that much. I'm getting good sleep. I feel calmer in traffic. I'm having less joint pain. I'm having less mental fog. I'm celebrating those things. Celebrate them. Because sometimes we miss that whole process. What's one non-scale victory that you can celebrate right now? Think about that. Remember, every time you celebrate one of those, you are reinforcing your own success. And you're reinforcing staying in your own lane. You're reinforcing playing your own game. So let's do a short guide reflection right now. Okay, I want you to be still. Sit still for just a moment. Take a big deep breath in and let it go. Now I want you to think of one area of your life where you've been comparing yourself to someone else, to their timeline. Maybe it's fasting. Maybe it's their career. Maybe it's even a relationship that you see they have that you're like, man, why can't I have that? And I want you to acknowledge the temptation. I want you to say it silently. Yes, I've been comparing. Yes, I've been comparing. Now I want you to release it. Say this with me. This is my timeline, my body, my healing, my race, my game. Say that again. This is my timeline, my body, my healing, my race, my game. I want you to take another big deep breath in through the nose and out through the mouth. And I want you to let that peace replace the pressure that you've been under, the pressure that you've been putting on yourself, the pressure to keep up, the pressure to overreach, and even the pressure that caused you to freeze. You don't have to run their race. You just need to finish your race. Because your race is different from theirs. It's different from what's going on in their lives. Here's the truth. Comparison steals peace. And stress steals progress. But when you fast on your own timeline, you give your body the freedom to heal at its own pace. When you play your game, don't play somebody else's game. Don't measure your success by their numbers. This is your journey, your healing, your victory. And when you embrace that, fasting becomes not just a discipline, but it becomes a doorway into limitless living. All right. So comparison. This is one of those places where we can't talk enough about it, right? Because even sometimes when we think, "Oh, I don't do that," yeah, there's something in there. Yeah. So I know some of you are watching right now, and you are at different points in your fast. Some are 24 hours, some just beginning, some are pushing further. We have one community member who is looking beyond 72 hours. And that's the beauty of all that we're doing. We're walking this journey together, but each one of us is on a path. And the path looks different. So if you've been tempted to compare, let this be your reminder. Stay in your own lane, play your own game, and honor your body and your body's timeline. You don't have to do it like everybody else. We're heading to the same place, the same metrics, but we don't have to do it like everybody else. Awesome. All right, so I see some. Let's go back to our community and let's see what we got out there. Let's see, where was I? Let's see. Well, let me put this up so we can remember where we were. Okay, so Jennifer. Jennifer's had thyroid disease now too. So one of the things, thank you for putting that up, Jennifer. So certain diseases tend to run together. So diabetes, thyroid, right? So those two tend to be together, particularly for people who are, let's just say particularly, let me just leave it there. They tend to run together. Just like high blood pressure, high cholesterol, and diabetes run together. Yeah. So we see a lot of people who have diabetes and they also have thyroid disease. Cornelia says, I'm so proud of you all. Jennifer, it's great you've managed to bring your A1C into normal under those circumstances. Yes, congratulations. Steve says, great job, Bowie. Pamela says, hi, everyone. Steve says, when I first met Doc in 2017, he was a big un like me. I always liked overweight doctors so they wouldn't get on to me. Over time, he got thin, and I asked him how he did it. That started our fasting lifestyle. Oh, thank you for saying that, Steve. Thank you. So there's a whole conversation in there, Steve. I'm not even going to take the time, but yes, I'm so proud of the community. Proud of you, Steve, and what we're seeing. I keep saying I have to get you guys on so that you can tell your story about where you are. And I always pick on Steve and Cornelia and Bowie and Pam, but they've had some amazing stories as we've moved through this path together. Bowie says, I've been here since November last year. Still haven't finished a full 72 yet. Only half a pound a week this whole time, but the small drips add up. Yes, they do. They add up. It doesn't matter as long as we're moving in that process. So Bowie, congratulations. Bowie says, I'm worried my doc will be mad at my blood glucose in 2 weeks because I had COVID for the last 2 weeks. XXXXX. So and I'm pausing. I'm gonna make a comment. Let me make a comment. So one of the things that I had to realize as a physician was this very idea of playing your own game. And recently I told a patient of mine, I gave them an analogy. So when I take my car to the shop, Even though I'm hard on my car, y'all. I don't do the things like they tell me at the times they tell me. I show up and and the guys. I don't take care of cars. I drive them. They do what they need to do for me, and I take them to the shop when I need to. So I take it to the shop. I've never had the guy walk out to me and take my hand and slap it and say, "You should have brought it in last week." I walk in, I hand them the keys, they go and they do what they do, and they come back and they charge me $1 million. Right? That's what happens. Now they may talk about me back there, maybe. But one of the concepts that as a patient and as physicians and the medical community that we have to begin understanding is that the things that people struggle with for a reason. Let me give you an example. Talk to a patient, and patient's telling me the story about their love for a certain type of candy. And I said, well, why do you love it? They say, I don't know, I just love it. And I said, well, tell me, when did you first start liking this? And they're like, oh, let me tell you that story. It turns out that they had been their family was in the military, and they would move around. And they would show up at these different towns, and they were always the child, the person who's talking to me now, who is, by the way, as I'm talking to them, they're in their 70s, almost 80s. And so we're flashing backwards now. They're a kid, and they're moving around. And they were always the new kids, so the parents never let them go anywhere. They always had to stay close to home because they were always the new kid. Everybody else was in town, and they knew where everything was. And so mom was like, no, you're staying here. Well, one time they move into a town, and from their house, there is a store 2 blocks away. And mom says, oh, the store is close enough. And you're old enough now, so the patient is now 9 or 10 years old. And mom stood on the stoop, or the steps, on the porch, and watched the patient walk to the store, 2 blocks away. And when they walked into the store, the very first thing that they bought, that the person in the store sold them, was the candy that they now loved. I want you to hear me. So here we are now, almost 80 years old. And every time they eat the candy, it brings them back to when they were 10. I want you to imagine what it's like now for someone to say to them, don't eat that candy because it's causing your blood sugar to go up. Do you know the power that comes with the connection that they make every time they eat a piece of that candy? Because we're not talking about the candy. We're talking about the autonomy that came the moment mom said you can walk down this street. We're talking about the power and the influence of the memory of when they walked into the store by themselves. We're talking about the security that it now brought to them when mom says, hey, it's only 2 blocks away. I'm going to stay here and I'm going to watch you go down there. And until we connect to those types of stories, me taking the candy has no effect. Because people will find something else that fills that bill, and then they go right back to that thing. So I could have said to her, hey, don't eat that candy. And she'll say, okay, I will, because it's bad for my health. And she'll do it for a week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, 4 weeks, 5 weeks, 6 weeks, 12 weeks. She'll do it for a year, maybe a year and a half, maybe 2 years. But one day, the brain will say, hey, you remember that stuff we used to have when we were 10 years old? Let's go get some. Because we never connected the story All we did was took the food. And until we make that connection, patients will be ashamed. They will be scared to walk into the car shop with their car that's not functioning well because they're afraid that the guy behind the counter is going to slap their hands. See, that's a whole nother show right there. Coming up in March of next year of 2026, I'm scheduled to do a conference for healthcare providers on the concept of managing patients with diabetes in the modern era. Part of what the story I just told you is that comes from that, my preparation for that. Okay, so let's see. So you guys got me down, Bowie, you got me down another. So she says that she's worried about her doctor. Dolly says, I'm also failing to sustain. Tell me more about that, Dolly. Tell me more about that. I think I understand what you're saying, but I want to be sure. Boy, 45 hours is the most I've done. We do 24-hour fast. Yes, Steve and his family, they do a 24-hour fast. And he's usually in ketosis. His ketones are usually 2 or so. So they're doing a mostly ketogenic diet. Boy, that's reassuring to hear, Steve. I admire your progress. Yes, definitely. And Steve says, I'm trying to make it a few more years. Well, thank you for saying that also, Steve, because our goal is how do we keep you alive as long as possible and keep you as healthy as possible? That is the goal. Those numbers that we do, the numbers we look at, they're great markers. They're great metrics. But those numbers are not the end goal. That's the whole play your own game, right? So play your own game. What is our goal? How do I connect the number to how do I make it meaningful to me? That's what we want. How do we make it meaningful? All right. So as we talk, everything that we do, as you always hear me say, is based on our Triple E formula for success. We educate, we empower, and we encourage. We educate with the shows, with the blogs, with the podcasts. All of those things are with the idea of changing our mindset, helping us to understand how the body works, helping us to understand the connections, like we just told that story. We educate. We empower with the tools. The Limitless Living Health Action Plan, the Balanced Bites, the HEAT model, the COPE model, right? To think about that. All of those are tools to help you implement the things that we're learning. We educate, we empower, and then we encourage with this amazing community, the community that you're a part of. The community that says, hey, I can do it because I saw them do it. I can do it because I have a group that's walking with me. I can do it slow and maybe imperfect at a time, but I can do it because I've learned how to be consistent. And you want to hear a secret? Yeah, come here. Let me tell you a secret. Your pathway, as imperfect as it is, your journey, as rocky as it's been, the path that you've been on, your history, as traumatic as it's been, is exactly the answer to somebody else's story. So when you show up and you share where you've been and the journey that you've been on, you are actually answering the question that somebody else in the community has. And that is part of limitless living. That says I'm showing up with my best self, my best health, and my best plans. I don't have to be perfect. I just have to be consistent. I have to show up. And when you show up, tell your story. There are over 1 billion people on the planet right now with diabetes or pre-diabetes, not to mention those who have heart disease, they've had strokes, they have polycystic ovarian syndrome, they have obesity, they have fatty liver, all of those things. There are more people on the planet right now, and you get to be a voice that says, hey, we don't have to go like that. We don't have to keep having these complications. There is a different way. And you get to do that because you are part of the community. We educate, we empower, and we encourage, because that's how we roll. We are living limitless lives, everybody. We'll be back tomorrow as we do our complete review of fasting. How do we prepare for the fast? How do we get through the fast successfully and what goes on in our body? And then how do we end the fast? And you get to see what I eat for the first time in 72 hours. Join us tomorrow as we do that. On Saturday, we'll have video from the vault at 9 p.m. Central. On Sunday morning, we'll have This Week in Review at 6 a.m. Central. And we'll be right back here next Monday for Dwain Woode MD Live as we continue our path and our series, Play Your Own Game. If you've not joined us yet for our MOVE campaign, that's metabolic optimization via exercise, as we're doing our strength training right now, don't forget about the walking. Come join us. We're in the Bridge to Mastery section of that. So after every 100 days, we do the Bridge to Mastery as we get into the next 100 days. So we've completed 100 days of walking. We did the Bridge to Mastery. We completed 100 days of strength and strategy or strength training. We're in the bridge right now, and we're getting ready to start our next 100 days. Make sure you join us. All of this is designed for you to be able to just show up and plug in and begin walking the path with us. I'm excited when I get to be here with you to see the benefits that you're getting and to be along the path with you. Thank you for being an amazing community. LLG in the house. This is Dr. Dwain Woode. That's Wood with an E. The E stands for endocrinology. We educate, we empower, and we encourage you to take charge of your health and your life. Avoid complications, go to the next level. We're creating the life we've always wanted, and we are living limitless lives. Which says I'm showing up with my best self, my best health, my best plans, and I'm not allowing anything from outside or anything from inside me to prevent me from doing that. Thank you for being here. Good night, everybody.